Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are having a look at another devlog for War Thunder, and this time we're having a look at the T58. This one is going to be a pre-order for the American tech tree, another premium heavy that is coming in for America at rank 5. It's kind of ridiculous how the vast majority of these kind of prototypes are now premiums, with the T54 series and now the T58 being in a similar situation. This vehicle has a massive 155mm cannon, along with a crazy oscillating turret, and to be quite honest, it looks a bit ridiculous on top of the chassis that it's on. The vehicle is going to be incredibly fun, but unfortunately, as I said, is a premium. Let's get into its history and all of its interesting stuff. If you want to buy this vehicle, I will leave a link in the description and also a pinned comment with my partner code so you can get a discount on it and also support the channel. And if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and also like the video. Let's get going. So first off, we had the pack for the T58. It comes with, of course, the premium vehicle, 2,000 Golden Eagles, and premium account for 15 days. You also get the unique title, the Big Gun title, and then also you get the Big Gun decal. You can obviously see what they're going for here with this 155mm. It's pretty expensive for what the vehicle is, and since there are already other options that are around the BRs that this vehicle will be, it's kind of hard to justify unless you really enjoy big gun oscillating turrets like the Surviviability, which, to be honest, I do enjoy quite a lot. Probably not for $70 though. During the Second World War, American armor had relied on numbers, mobility, and also combined arms tactics, rather than direct superiority in firepower or armor. However, the appearance of newer Soviet heavy tanks, like the IS-3, caused a deep concern, as existing US medium tanks would struggle against it. In response, the US initiated a heavy tank program that eventually produced the M103 heavy tank. Yet even as the M103 entered service, US planners worried it might already be insufficient to deal with future Soviet designs intended to succeed the IS-3. The T-58 project, which began in the mid-1950s, was intended as an answer. It took the M103 chassis and paired it with an experimental oscillating turret mounting a 155mm gun. The oscillating turret idea was inspired by contemporary French tanks, particularly the AMX-50 series, and was seen as a way to manage the weight of such a large cannon while incorporating an autoloader to offset the difficulties of handling massive shells. The 155mm gun was designed to defeat any heavy armor the Soviets could produce. However, the T-58's development coincided with a major shift in US and NATO doctrine, which moved away from specialized heavy tanks toward the main battle tank concept. This was primarily due to logistical concerns and the belief that nuclear weapons on the battlefield reduced the need for heavily armored behemoths. As a result, the T-58 was never pursued beyond the prototype stage, with the project being cancelled in 1957. So the vehicle itself has a really nice hull, which is of course the one for the M103. If you've never played the M103, by the way, I'd highly recommend it. It's kind of annoying, as I said, as how a lot of these vehicles like the T-54s and 58s are becoming premiums, but at least there's a few decent heavy tanks in the American tech tree like the M103. The T-32s are pretty fun as well, and the T-34. It's just annoying that these vehicles keep becoming premiums. The T-58 itself has a 155mm cannon, which of course is massive, especially since it's an auto-loaded cannon. The actual rounds that this thing fires is heat and HESH, which means that you have only heat rounds on the vehicle because HESH is completely worthless. This gun, since it is so large and also in an oscillating turret, has an autoloader attached to it. So this auto-loading mechanism will have a very nice reload, but they don't exactly say what it's going to be. So it's probably going to be about 6 or 7 seconds. Maybe it'll be 5 seconds like the AMX-50, but we'll see. The autoloader itself is only limited to 6 rounds, so that's a little bit of a problem, meaning that you'll still need to reload the autoloader even after, getting into combat. So you'll basically have a situation where you'll hammer an enemy for like 3 or 4 rounds, and then you might have to retreat and then reload the autoloader and then go again, because that can obviously be a bit of a problem. Now, the vehicle itself generally should be incredibly fun. One of the problems with it, though, is it's really tall. And being really tall, it does have a lot of armor, or at least it should do on the turret. It actually kind of looks like a weird model when you actually look at it. It kind of looks like it shouldn't really work. But the major problem with it being so tall is it will have kind of issues with its angles in terms of its gun depression and also gun elevation. So if you're fighting on the straight, you should be fine. You have quite a lot of armor on the front of it. But if you ever have to, engage on hills, or if something comes after you in terms of other vehicles, it might be a little bit of a problem. The vehicle does have a 50 cal, so that's basically its anti-cast defense, which isn't great, but, it's better than a 30, which most of the vehicles get at the BR, so at least it gives you access to that. Another issue with the vehicle is it doesn't really get any smoke grenades since it's a prototype, so since it gets no smokes, you're going to have to basically reposition yourself. Now, the cool thing about being based off of the M103 chassis, I'm pretty sure this was based off like the prototype M103 chassis, not the actual M103, but who knows. It gets a really good engine. It gets an 810 horsepower engine, and even though this thing is 60 tons, it can actually move around at a decent click for a heavy tank, up to 35 kilometers an hour, which will be really, really nice. So the one thing about a lot of these American heavies is even though they have quite a lot of armor, they also have quite a lot of mobility. That's one of the really nice things about the American ones. And then also the Russian ones, the IS-3 and the IS-4 are incredibly mobile compared to a lot of other vehicles like the Mouse, for example, which is a similar BR. So we'll have to see how the armor kind of like holds up on this thing. It does have a very angled turret, and also with the oscillating turret means that you have basically 2 plates of armor on top of each other in most of the area, but from the side you'll be able to pen this thing no issues. Now, the fact that this thing is rank 5 is kind of nice. By the way, it's 50 USD and 70 Canadian, because Canadians always get screwed on these things, just to let you know. But the other part is the heat. The heat will be interesting to see how it kind of works, because at this BR you do get quite a lot of heavy tanks from other nations, and you also get a lot of mediums. And generally against mediums with these kind of like big guns, you want stuff like APHE or APC-BC with HE filler, because you can normally just pen them anyway, and heat sometimes gets stuck on annoying things. And same with HESH, which is the other round that this vehicle gets access to. Heat is one of those which fuel tanks, for example, eat quite a lot, and therefore you can't do damage to the vehicle past that. T54s might be really annoying to face in this thing, but also at the same time, the armor on this thing should be able to, stack up pretty well against T54s. One of the interesting parts of the vehicle is actually under the gun. You can actually see there's like a little gap in the 2 pieces of armor. I wonder if that will be a weak spot on the vehicle, or if there'll be other ones, such as kind of like the lower glacis to go through. But as a person who has faced many on M103s in my time, it's pretty crazy to face those, especially in a down tier, which this thing will just be a monster in. So the thing about the T-54s that are already in the game, the prototype vehicles, one already with the oscillating turret, if you get those things in a down tier, you can just annihilate everything. There isn't anything that you can do against them, and they just kind of run over you. It's one of the crazy things about heavy tanks. In a down tier, they're unstoppable. At their tier, they're pretty good, and in an up tier, they're generally pretty bad. But with this vehicle, with a 155mm, which I'm guessing even with the heat should have access to quite a lot of HE filler on that heat, you'll be able to do damage to pretty much anything that you see. The only question is, what will be able to do damage to you? And that is the key part of this. Also, the fact that you will need to manage that 6-round magazine. That's going to be kind of the biggest factor for this type of vehicle, how you're able to manage it and if you're able to manage it well. And for me personally, I have a lot of experience in the French autoloading tanks, and I feel like with those, you kind of gain the idea of what you need to do in these types of things, and having like good crew skills to be able to get you in and out of stuff with the tank driving skill and the weaponry loading skill can kind of help you get to better positions and kind of go from there. So for me personally, I think this vehicle is really cool. I think it'll be super fun to play. And, it's another one of those vehicles that is a bit different, a bit quirky, and a bit of fun. I'm just really annoyed it's a premium because I have personally no use for it. And obviously, it's designed to make money instead of having fun in it. But the people who buy it, I'm sure will have a great time. And I'm sure I'll face a lot of them because it is quite a unique vehicle with also some unique stats. I look forward to seeing it on the dev server, see what it looks like. But as always, let me know what you think, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.